for us being a pioneer to say that we are the first company in the world, not just in Singapore, but in the world, to send a smart padlock into space and show that it works over in space at those extremely harsh conditions. I think it's a testament to the tech and the team behind, and also the belief and the mission that we can do something when nobody else wants to do.
And actually, is the lock that you showed one of the 8 locks that went into space?
Yes,
Or
so this is one of the locks that went up to space. If you
Right.
look behind, this is number 8 of 88. We actually made 88 pieces of the edition. So it's number 8. So number 1 to 8 went up. And yeah, when we put it together, in fact, we have the Passion Made Possible logo showing that we are a Singapore-based company. Daring to dream, right? No idea is too crazy to try. And really just taking the first step to doing it is, I think, the first step to many more milestones to come.
Hi, folks. So welcome back to On Call with Insignia, where we go on call with leaders innovating the future of Southeast Asia, or as we like to call it, Asia Innovation. I'm your host, Paulo Aquino, and we're back with a returning guest, Anthony Chow, CEO and co-founder of Igloo. For our longtime listeners who have been with us since 2020, 2021, you may remember Anthony and Igloo. Back then, Igloo Home and Igloo Company, they've been very much focused on smart locks, smart access solutions, and that's been very much their mission and vision until today. Except this time around, it's already been 8 years. They recently just celebrated their 8th year anniversary, and a lot of great milestones that have been achieved thus far, and we'll talk a little bit about them in a bit. But first, I wanted to welcome Anthony back on the show. It's been a while.
Great. Thank you for having me back again, Paulo. I think it's always nice to chat with you and share about some of the milestones and the journey that we have been over the past 8 years, especially over the past 3 years of the pandemic. Suddenly, a lot of changes have happened to the world. And as a company, we have also adapted and survived and continue to grow with contactless access solutions for not just consumers, but also businesses. So love to have a chat with you and share with you some of our successes over the past couple of years, and also some of the challenges that we have to deal with.
Sounds good. And speaking of milestones, maybe we can start with that, right? Our last chat was June 2021. So it has been a while, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm sure there's a lot to share in terms of milestones. So maybe you can sum it up in what are the 3 big numbers that you'd like our listeners to take away when it comes to how Igloo has evolved over the past 2-3 years.
Sure, of course. Since then, I think a number of big changes have been happening. And as we continue to grow global, number one, I would say that today over 1,500 businesses are currently integrated and working with us all around the world. More than 50% of them are actually coming from the United States, where we set up our Austin, Texas office just towards the end of 2021. And that office has been growing about 3 times year on year for us in the United States. The second one is, I would say that since we started a partnership with Insignia since 2017, 2018, where we have about 20,000 doors installed with Igloo products. Today, we have over 300,000 doors made smarter with our solutions. And these are not just doors, but these are residential doors. These are also car doors. These are also like self-storage doors and a whole range of other assets that have been made a lot more secure and smarter because of our solution. The third one I would say is that today over 10 million credentials, digital credentials have been issued from our platform. This is really replacing the need to pass a physical key, but really issuing out digitally via our software platform on our backend. And this number is growing at about 60+% on the compound annual growth rate, which is growing very quickly.
I always introduce our show talking about how we're talking with leaders really impacting Southeast Asia as an emerging market region, but it's always great to hear from businesses that come from the region, come from Singapore, for example, and have become really global businesses like Igloo. As you mentioned, a large part of your market is based in the US, especially with the enterprise side. And you now have more than 300,000 door assets, all types of doors secured, more than 10 million digital keys or digital credentials issued over the past 8 years. Kudos to all of that. And I'm sure that those numbers will only grow in the next few years to come. And I did mention earlier in the introduction that Igloo celebrated its 8th anniversary as of this recording just last week. And to celebrate this anniversary, you guys did something really out of this world, quite literally.
Right.
Yeah, hashtag unlock space. Maybe you can share a little bit about that. I want you to do the honors of sharing with our
Right.
listeners what happened. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. One of our flagship products that we have developed over the past number of years is really our padlock range. Our smart padlock range started with our very first smart padlock. This is the padlock version 1 that we launched sometime towards the end of 2018 and 2019, where this will enable us to secure assets that are remote, such as a garage, a self-storage, or cell tower, or like an oil and gas company, or even like the logistics van, right? That requires a way to lock up some of these assets when they're mobile or immobile. Many of these locations that we are securing can be completely remote, like you pointed out in what you said just now. In fact, one of our most remote site that we have secured is actually 1,600 kilometers away from the major city. And this is over in Australia. It's about 1,600 kilometers north of Perth, where there are sites there for mining, where they need to secure up with a padlock for some of these high value assets that they're protecting. And it's very difficult to have someone driving 1,600 kilometers to
Yeah,
pass
going
this
back
field
and forth, right?
auditing all the time. Yeah. One of the things that this padlock really need to do is to be extremely reliable. It needs to withstand the harshest of conditions, extremely low temperature during winter, like for example in Canada or in Nordic, or in extremely high temperature during summer, like for example in the Middle East. It needs to withstand wind, it needs to withstand ice, gust, cloud, all sorts of different kind of snow that might encapsulate the hardware and make it fail. But yet at the same time, it needs to pack it in the core technology in itself is intelligence to be able to remotely unlock it, remotely control it, knowing who is coming and going. The evolution of the padlock range and the padlock family has gone through a multiple different kind of steps from padlock 1 all the way until last year or early this year. We launched our second version, which is our padlock 2. And not just padlock 2, but it comes with a couple of variations from the padlock 2 basic all the way to padlock 2 enterprise version, where we have done a lot of step change in terms of the reliability and the technology that we have put into it. This padlock 2 is a cut above all the other padlocks that we have done. We have gone through 7 US military grade testing on the padlock in terms of pulling, twisting, shackle, cutting, and now to make it extremely durable. It's the toughest smart padlock in the world that we claim. And it is able to go all the way 3 meters underwater in extremely just completely submerged, and yet it can work because in some locations where we are securing, they get flooded many times. And so we thought that when we are designing this product, we thought about the best way to actually tell the world that this is the most rugged smart padlock in the world. And we thought what better way to do it other than to send it into space. So on our 8-year anniversary, we actually made 8 purpose-built smart padlock 2. This is with a very nice sand coating that's thermal insulating the product itself. Because when you send the padlock or send something to space, roughly about 33 kilometers above the Earth's surface, temperature drops up to minus 65 degrees Celsius, extremely cold weather, extremely cold surrounding, almost zero pressure differential. And at a height, which is about 33 kilometers, it is about 3 times the height that a passenger airplane goes to. And at that height, 33 kilometers away from Earth's surface, we demonstrate that we are able to unlock it in space, operational. And then after that, it went up via this helium hydrogen balloon all the way up to the top. And at that point in time, when it reaches the peak of the altitude, it will burst and it comes all the way down back to Earth. In a drop test, that is the highest drop test that any hardware has really survived. Dropping about 33 kilometers from the peak of the altitude of flight, coming down at half the speed of free fall. So dropping at about 4.5 meters per second. We reached back down all the way to Earth. We picked it up and we show that it works. I think showing the functionality, the intelligence, the entire product extremely ruggedized and extremely durable, that if it can work in space and survive the fall back, re-entry back to Earth, it can actually work anywhere on Earth. And this is, I think, something that we were extremely proud of. To make this happen, what we did was a couple of friends in the space industry actually recommended us to put it on a hydrogen balloon and just fly it up. So we had a partner bring this latex balloon together, put the whole contraption together actually somewhere in the UK in Sheffield, together with a partner that's based over in Sheffield in the UK. We launched it up in one clear August day during summer on the 9th of August, which is
It's a good thing
generally
your
seen.
anniversary is during a time where the weather could be better than other days.
The rest of the days are all cloudy and rainy
Right.
and Spartan weather. So extremely clear on 9th of August 2023, we sent 8 of these padlock into space all the way up. You can see the footage with very clear skies and with the padlock and with the entire Earth's kind of circumference and the horizon on the background. Beautiful.
I think I would say more than just a gimmick or like
Yep.
all the metaphor aspect of it. I think it's really interesting that you guys have perhaps opened up a new market for Igloo for all these like space companies out there. And I
Right.
think these days there's a lot of interest even beyond the States, for example, to send
Right.
out a lot of different micro satellites and all these things out there
Correct.
by different countries. I think it's a good time to be showing off this
I
kind
know.
of technology.
exactly. Just as India landed something on the moon,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so I think as us, I think we were just speaking to this other company in a sense as building a space hotel. So I going up probably in the next couple of years, and I do think interplanetary travel will definitely be part of the future of humankind. And for us being a pioneer, to say that we're the first company in the world, not just in Singapore but in the world, to send a smart padlock into space and show that it works over in space at those extremely harsh conditions. I think it's a testament to the tech and the team behind, and also the belief and the mission that we can do something when nobody else wants to do.
And actually, is the lock
Yeah.
that you showed one of the 8 locks that went into space,
Yes.
or
So this is one of the locks that went up to space. If you
alright.
look behind, this is number 8 of 88. We actually made 88
Mm.
pieces of the edition. So it's number 8. So number 1 to 8 went up. And yeah, when we put it together, in fact, we have the Passion Made Possible logo showing that we are a Singapore-based company and daring to dream, right? And really taking, and no idea is too crazy to try. And really just taking the first step to doing it is, I think, the first step to many more milestones to come.
That lock has gone farther than any of us. It's part
Right,
of that
right.
rare group of individuals.
It is a
You know?
reminder. I think the first thing that I think probably in our very first podcast, we spoke about one another lock that we have, which is also bears a lot of significance to the company's journey.
Mm,
And this lock was the one that got us the Airbnb partnership back in
mm.
2016. This was the lock that secured the signature of two of Airbnb's co-founder, Joe
Oh,
Gabriel, who
wow.
is CPO, and then Nate was the CPO, right? I think this was the first thing that we always have it in our office, and now we have this other from sharing economy to space in this sort of big spectrum of things that we want to secure and the
Right, right.
vision that future. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely a Hall of Fame to you guys might have some kind of museum there in you guys are in Block 71, right? You guys might have some
Yes,
kind of
I love
museum in Block 71 of all these, like,
yeah,
historic locks.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And you did talk about a lot of this whole launch being symbolic of a lot of the challenges that Igloo has had to overcome over the years. And you
right.
did mention the pandemic a lot in terms of referring to these challenges. Maybe you can share a little bit more about what for you, especially you as a CEO, had to do in order to overcome these big challenges that Igloo has had to face over the past few years, especially the pandemic.
I think the first thing I would say is really the challenges of having hardware as part of a solution to go to market. I think hardware is difficult enough, but especially during the pandemic, you face challenges of supply chain shocks. You face chipset prices rising up quickly. I think almost 5 times it went up during the pandemic. And also like actually shipping the product all the way to our customers. There were all these shipping containers that were being stuck in different areas because of pandemic lockdowns, right? So I think that was the first challenge that we had to face. On how do we navigate the space that we are in where we still need to deliver hardware as part of our entire solution? I think the way that we looked at it and try to overcome it is try to minimize the hardware component in our entire product offering, making us a lot more asset-light. We productize the chipset that we have that sits behind all our product into what we call the Generation 2 igloo chipset. Right now, we're working on Generation 3. And today, we don't just work with our suppliers over in China, but we have diversified our supply chain across Vietnam as well as over in Korea, where a lot more partners we are engaging with now to put our chipset into those products, bringing those solutions into our market so that we have a lot more supply that we can get into our customers' hands. I think trying to make us a lot more asset light has been one big learning over the past 2 to 3 years, and diversifying the partners that we work with has been something that we have learned internally over the past 2 3 years, and now we are putting ourselves in a much more stronger foundation to scale with solutions, not just smart access, but all sorts of different products and smart devices we want to bring to the market. I think the second thing is really how do we double down in our growth markets, which is our B2B enterprise market. Especially during the pandemic, we launched Igloo Works as well as our Igloo
Mhm.
Developer Portal. We are rebranding it to call Igloo Access now with our APIs and SDKs. This is where we see the growth opportunity for us in the market because of the growth of the sharing economy. A lot of businesses, they do not want to own asset anymore. They want to rent or they want to lease, or even with the rise of smart cities. Challenges of entering the B2B market during the pandemic has been multiples because you are not able to visit the customer, you're not able to deploy the products with them, right? Everything needs to be done over Zoom call. But because of the rise of the pandemic, there's this huge demand for contactless access. So many of these businesses, especially in the US and Europe, have been really willing to give our products a try, even though they were not able to meet us physically. And after we overcome that initial hurdle of the pilots, the trials, getting the operational head involved as well as their respective management team involved. Right now, we are actually deploying very quickly with some of these customers. Launching the first couple of B2B customers during the pandemic has been extremely challenging for us. But now that we've gone through all the pilot phase, many of them love our products. They're scaling for that 5 to 10 lock deployment into 5,000 to 10,000 lock deployment, whether it's in the property management sector in the US or even vacation rental or the sharing sector over in Europe. And really, I think continuously delivering the best customer experience to them, making sure that 5 locks work very well or the 5 workflow is done very extremely well is crucial for us to maintain the trust and the service level that these customers require of us, and they continue to work with us and scale up with us. And right now we are benefiting from it. And in fact, as we grow with our B2B segment, we are productizing this Connect platform, which is called Igloo Connect. With Igloo Connect, we are consolidating all our integration efforts across all the different sectors. And today, over 1,500 businesses have integrated with us, and we're listing them on the Igloo Connect platform, where businesses, consumers, or any industries can go on it. They can purchase a device that are integrated with our platform and also a software service that's integrated with our platform so that they can enjoy the full experience of keyless access, not just the product itself, but the full experience that goes through integrated ecosystem that we have. I'll say the third challenge that we face is really the talent market. Over the past 2, 3 years, there have been multiple different ups and downs with the rise in the tech talent and the salary packages for tech talent all around the world rose very quickly. And then now there's also other challenges where there's been a shrinkage in terms of
Mhm.
businesses downsizing. I think for us as a group of Igloo Homies, about 100 plus people, over the past 2, 3 years, we've been through the crucible of fire, repurposing different people to look at different markets, especially where our Southeast Asian market slowed down due to lockdowns, but markets like US and Europe has really grown. This team has gone through multiple different shifts and positions, and really we have come out from it. On the other hand, a much more resilient and stronger group of people, a group of hungrier, group of humbler people withstood the test of time. And I won't say that we have really overcome all challenges, but every challenge just makes us stronger. And with passion and a heart for the vision and the mission, I think as a team, we are a lot more stronger than we are 2 to 3 years ago as we went into the pandemic.
Yeah, I think a lot of takeaways from there. I think one, definitely that, I guess, shift of being more asset light, as you mentioned, and diversifying in terms of thinking about supply chains. I think that's very
Right.
reflective, not just of what specific companies are doing, but even entire industries. If you talk about like the
Yep.
semicon industry, for example, a lot of diversification happening there. And then the second point or takeaway that I got was definitely the verticalization of this whole tech stack that you guys are doing, right? And really trying to own more and more of the technologies that are necessary for smart access and making that
Right.
accessible to especially your enterprise customers, which I think is only the next logical step now that you've created some kind of breadth in terms of the different kinds of companies that you serve. And
Right.
obviously, definitely developing the culture, especially for an organization, I think that is definitely global. A lot of folks, the fact that you guys are able to coordinate a space launch in the UK, being an HQ, being HQ'd in Singapore, for example, and having a large portion of your market in the US. I think it's really remarkable to and not definitely not a walk in the park to set up a culture like that. I am curious to know what your take is on, and we did touch a little bit on it with regards to verticalization and a lot of
Mhm.
these tools and software being democratized to these businesses. But any other things that excite you about the future of smart access moving forward?
I think the future of smart access, there's a lot of technologies that need to come in to play to make sure that smart access or even smart devices or in general the IoT market to grow. Verticalization and building up the entire workflow is one thing that we are constantly working on right now, and that forms a big focus of the business because you want to bring the entire experience to the customer. But the actual deployment of these devices itself, I think there are a lot of technologies that are upcoming, which is very exciting. I think number one, with devices deploying in the market, especially for B2B, you want to make sure that the battery life is very long. If the
Mhm.
battery lasts forever, you can install that and forget about it, put it there for 50 years and build solutions all around it, data, machine learning stuff around it. So I think battery is important. I think that could come from number one, longer battery life. Number two, renewable batteries, maybe using tapping on some of these solar panels or renewable and resources. Or even recently, there's been increasing number of interest in using radio waves to charge the
Mm.
devices. We're looking at also some solutions where because our locks, you need to lock and unlock. We can actually convert kinetic energy to power up some of the products itself. And so I think this core IP, in terms of increasing the battery life with devices, I think that's something that we're super interested in. Number two is connectivity. It's always not the easiest to get connectivity to a device. And that's where, as a company, we are constantly innovating on, because many of our businesses that we work with, they have remote sites that they want to secure. And it's not the easiest to bring.
You mentioned the one in Australia.
One in Australia, 1,600 kilometers away from any like city, right? So you need to bring on connectivity that's remote, long range, and yet very low power. Back to the first point about power, right? To these devices. And as a company, we have been fortunate to constantly bring out patents about the firmware that we design, right? About our algo pin, crypto pin generation system, or leveraging some of the low power wide area network kind of connectivity on our devices. But there are a lot more technology that's coming into play where you're able to have extremely long line of sight connectivity. Maybe next time there could be one from Earth all the way to space at a very low power. I think this is very important. I think these are a few things that we will be looking at. Of course, with the sustainability mandate as well, you don't really want to always put device out there that you want to churn and then you take back and all this. You want something that could be biodegradable in the field. You're able to collect data, and then after 10 years, it disappears, and then you deploy it again. So I think certainly a lot of innovation to deploy IoT sensors, super interesting for us.
Yeah, I think out of the ones that you mentioned, the battery one is particularly interesting, and how to sustain the energy
Right,
usage of these locks over a long period of time, even without human intervention
right.
necessarily. So definitely looking forward to seeing what Igloo will come up with regards to those. And now that leads us into our final corner, which Anthony should be no stranger to, but I did change up the questions from last time. Yeah, so rapid fire round, short, sweet answers will do. First question: what superpower of any of your fellow C-level colleagues would you want to have?
I'll say maybe best our head of commercial for ability to make people place purchase orders quickly.
Very critical, yes.
Mm. I mean,
Right.
others as well. For example, Steven, our COO, I mean, he has a uncanny ability to break things down into steps and then make sure that we deliver on time, making sure that we never miss a deadline. We had our biggest order in, I think, March this year. We had only 2 months to turn around. Despite all the supply chain challenges, we managed to turn the entire thing around, ship it to the US and deliver the product. I think those are, it's a superpower. I think it's really amazing. Yeah.
Looking back now, what is a skill, could be a soft skill or hard skill, that you believe you should have learned back in your time as a student?
I think I'd like to learn how to read minds, or maybe just how to read people, because I think if anything, the past couple of years have taught me, I think the quicker that you're able to build a team, the quicker what people are interested in, what their aspirations are, the better the team you can build and the faster you can grow as a company. So maybe that's something that would be helpful for not just myself, but for anyone else going through the education system. Yeah.
If you could pick anyone, alive or dead, to be your 24/7 executive coach, who would it be? And what would be something you would want to learn from them?
Yeah, I think Bill Campbell, I think the author behind the $1 trillion Coach, I think interested to learn how he worked with most of the top executives in the Silicon Valley. And really, he's starting out as a high school football coach, right? Winning championships from there and then jumping into the commercial world. I think it's really fascinating to see how he's able to bring people together. I think that is the single thing that will be extremely helpful to learn and improve on as we continue to build this global business.
And speaking of learnings, anything you've read or taken up recently that you'd like to recommend to our audience?
I know the last time I spoke about Lee Kuan Yew, I think this time
Yeah.
have a different angle. I've been reading up on this gentleman called Ajahn Brahm. He's basically spent 30 years of his life in northern part of Thailand to become a monk. And I think he spoke about mindfulness, spoke about bliss and how to be at peace with yourself. I think this is extremely important, especially we are living in a world that's ever changing and can be extremely chaotic at times. And through all this chaos, if you're able to discover what you want to do and how do you find peace internally, having a stable mindset, you can make better decisions and you can really, I guess, survive and grow in this climate.
Yeah, definitely resilience. Hopefully as resilient as the locks you guys have. It's definitely important in today's market. And yeah, on that note, thank you so much, Anthony, for coming on the show. Really excited to be able to share with our listeners how Igloo has definitely grown since those early days. And I think England always likes to tell the story of how you guys helped him install a lock in his home. And I think from there, a lot has happened since. A lot of milestones achieved, a lot of growth, and a lot of new technologies and new frontiers have been broken. And just this one that you shared, which sending those locks into space. Maybe the next time that that we come on call, you guys would have landed something in the moon, maybe.
Next talk.
Next stop, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So on the note, thank you so much again, Anthony. Hope to see you around soon.
Thank you, Paulo. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this call. Make sure you get notified on when to dial in by following us wherever you're listening to us. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, toss in a like, and let us know if you'd like to hear more of this topic in the comments. See you all in our next call.